And here they are, and here I'm really curious to see, because as Tom mentioned, Ryan is playing some very cool cards which we haven't seen, I think, on stream, at least for the past YCSs. And okay, now here, this one we have seen is the True Dia, and Austin maybe, yeah, has to just maybe come back into time and thinking about the Centurion combos, but here this is something that we have seen quite often in the past with the Primera being brought up on the field. And honestly, the Centurion strategy, it is something that I really liked back then, and I think it's still showing up here with some other strategies as well, and the deck is interesting. And here comes the first addition we were discussing before, and Austin is running a look at it, which is called Crimson Gaia.
Yeah, that's very fair. I think you see the True Day and you think, oh, I've not seen that for a while, but I remember what it does, and then your opponent plays Crimson Gaia and you think, I'm gonna have to read that a little quick.
And essentially what the card does is you can add Red Dragon Archfiend or one card that mentions it from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And maybe Austin is just saying, okay, what is up next? And here comes I think this is the Resonator.
Which resonator?
The Vision one, okay, which is playing in 1-off from Ryan. And if you're Austin here, what is happened to your mind? Like, what was Ryan's goal, you know?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think maybe some probably know that the Resonators go with the Red Dragon Archfiend cards, but that's kind of the extent of my knowledge, so maybe Austin knows a little more. But he seems to be reading every single card, so maybe he doesn't know. I feel like the Centurion deck kind of fell off a little bit recently because of the Fiendsmith deck, I think. Like, Fiendsmith and people, the kind of trend was to include so many hand traps, and I think oftentimes with the Centurion deck, like if your opponent had 1 or 2 hand traps, it could be really, really hard to play on.
Yeah.
So maybe Ryan's kind of got a nice little strategy to include an extra engine and maybe be a bit more resilient to hand traps, but it's difficult to be resilient to that more Charmy Fuvalos there.
And we saw also the Centurion Gargoyle being brought up on the field, and the Fiendish Golem being added to Ryan's hand.
Do you think it was a level 4 or a level 8? Let's find out. So you can make it level 4 when you summon it.
Let's see.
And it was a level 8. Good job for Ryan.
Yeah, and at the same time, yeah, Fuvalos is obviously really good, but Centurion is one of those decks that can play around it pretty well, only giving like a draw or even 0 potentially, and you know, still end up on just playing during your opponent's turn. So
we see an extra copy of the Centurion field spell. Does that mean he doesn't run the trap, or he's already drawn the trap? I don't see any of the trap in the deck.
I think he's just set the Fiendish Golem, right? Yeah, that's it. So plays back to Austin with this Fiendsmith Ryziel deck.
I love a card that searches Fiendish Chain. That's just amazing. Like, I didn't know Fiendish Chain had its own little theme. I don't think he's running a Fiendish Chain to search with it though, which is very sad. But it is still fun. Just maybe in 2030 someone will turn up with their Fiendish Chain deck.
Okay, and yeah, the double Fuvalos works a little better, so at least you're gonna get some draws if they synchro summon during your own turn. And yeah, that's it. Now we follow it up with the Tract.
Yeah, it's quite nice that, because Ryan would normally players like to synchro summon the level 12 that I forget the name of, that lets you kind of tag it out for another big synchro from your extra deck. So Ryan, well, if he does that, he'll have to give Austin 2 draws rather than just 1.
Here we can see that Austin decided to go for the Fiendsmiths as well, and is playing as well the Ryziel's cards. But here comes the Ash Blossom being activated on the Requiem. And I think Ryan is left with other couple of cards in hand that we don't know, so at least may have some other interruptions.
Definitely some Ryziels, and yeah.
It's a very efficient deck, the Centurion, when it gets going. Like, you only really need 1 or 2 engine cards, and then you can have a bunch of hand traps and draw into more.
And there comes another one with the Veiler. Is it Node in the end? I can't quite.
Yeah, I
think it
agree.
will.
Can get a search off the Primera, and then maybe a Synchro Summon. For our level 12. Maybe we'll just go straight for the other Centurion level 12. And that can destroy the highest attack monster on Austin's field and draw a card. If that is indeed the target. Here it comes.
So Austin gets a draw.
Everyone gets a draw.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, the timing here for Ryan as to whether, you know, why you need to get this Ice Ryzeal specifically off the field. Because I think most of the Ryzeals can kind of summon themselves regardless. As long as you have a Ryzeal in the field or in the graveyard, it doesn't really matter. But maybe he's worried about a potential X coming down and, like, negating something.
And yeah, let's try to take a look. I see a Nibiru in the end from Austin, but not quite there yet. Huh? I mean, it's fun if you can manage to do it. You're doing your own turn.
Yeah, there's been, what, 3 summons?
Yeah.
Maybe if Ryan has some Bystials too.
Or his own Nibiru.
Oh, is this the end phase,
Did he
though?
pass?
Yeah.
Do you get both of them in the end phase? Wow, that's so much resources for Ryan.
Yeah, I think Austin
Wow.
has seen enough, and Ryan takes game 1. The opener was just a bit much, and that Fiendish Golem was not even needed in the end, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, disappointed we didn't get to see too much Resonator action. We saw the Crimson Gaia, but I guess if you get hit with the Molchami Fuvalos, you don't want to be synchro summoning a pile of Red Dragon Archfiends from your extra deck, so you're just going to have to make do.
Yeah, no, but like I think it was very well piloted by Ryan in game 1, and on the other hand, I think if you're Austin, you're in trouble, to be fair, because like you enter into round 2 and you're up against Centurion, and I mean, what a show off, to be fair.
Yeah.
And we mentioned this before, that most of our player side deck will be focused most likely on the Ryzeal Finsmith, Malice, and Pure Ryzeal, and if you're up against Centurion, honestly, also you have to come up with something, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at the side deck for Austin, and like there's a lot of cards like Ultimate Slayer and Crossout Designator, which are kind of very targeted. So like Crossout Designator, you really want to be sending XYZ monsters or Link monsters in this deck. He does have the one Synchro, Chaos Angel, in his extra deck, so he could probably use Ultimate Slayer if he wanted to, but it doesn't seem like that fantastic. And then Crossout Designator, you really want to side against someone with a very similar deck list to yours, which I don't think Ryan has.
No, not at all. On the other hand, I'm guessing Austin is probably familiar with Centurions, but as we have mentioned, yet to read some of these Resonator cards, and so he might be wondering, is there more hiding out there? Like, just what is Ryan idea and what is hiding there? So it makes it a little bit more complicated to side deck, and probably the best thing is focus on your own gameplay, and yeah. We could see those cross-outs. At the end of the day, it was mostly stopped by Valor and Ash, so why not?
Yeah, that is kind of one of the things the Centurion deck is known for. You kind of have a kind of compact engine, and then you back it up with defensive options, quite similar to the Fiendsmith deck, which kind of eventually overtook it in popularity.
On the other hand, though, we see another trend of the weekend. Obviously, we've briefly mentioned the impact of Supreme Darkness, which is mostly in the main deck, but a new trend has been adding even the third Mulcharmy friend out there in the Meowls in the side deck, and yeah, you can go up to 9 Mulcharmies now, going second against some matchups, and yeah, it works surprisingly well, I gotta say.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things when you first read it, you think, did people summon from the grave a lot? And then you look at decks like Fiendsmith, obviously, which is summoning a couple of times from the grave. Ryzeal maybe summons once with the node. Like, I feel like it just picks up things here and there and can kind of irritate your opponent for very little cost to yourself, because it replaces
also against
itself.
Malice, it's good. The card, it's
Absolutely.
it's very good.
But let's see if Austin can tie the duel as they are both ready. Let's jump back into action. And for anyone who's missed it, here comes on the screen the first card that we were able to reveal at the end of round 1, coming in Stampede soon. And it was one of the cards that was voted by duelists all over the world. And at the end of this match, after the interview, make sure to stay tuned for our second card that will be revealed.
Yeah, you don't want to get in the way of a stampede of Skull 7s.
Oh no.
They can cause trouble in
Terrifying.
large numbers, yeah.
But let's see. Austin goes first. We open the engraver.
And Ryan has a little punish for him there.
Ooh. Troll and lock. Obviously got back especially for the Mitsurugi, the version of the deck. But I mean, can be annoying.
Yeah, Droll is one of those cards which can sometimes be a bit hit or miss, but this is a big hit, right? You hit the engraver on the activation, and now no Fiendsmith track can be activated, no Ryziel searches, which Ryziel loves to do. They search like 4 or 5 cards in a turn if you let them, so absolutely fantastic Droll and Lockbird here.
And luckily this ice was there, because I am pretty sure the rest of the end is just Antrops. I think it might be something along the line of double Ash and an Imperm, so let's see.
Also, we said this before. Also, it will be interesting to see how many players decided to play Drone and Lockbird, and this is the case for Ryan. And let's see how Austin can navigate through this. Yeah, he goes detonator. Yes.
I feel like this is a pretty rare defense mode detonator. I don't see it in defense very often. What do you think? Is it? I guess you could play around a potential Bestial Druisworm by putting it in defense, so the Druisworm can't be crashed.
Yeah, you don't really see this often, right? Maybe it's just thinking maybe his opponent is playing cards that are not so popular, like, I don't know. I'm just thinking, I don't know, like out of the box, but can't really tell. But let's see here what Ryan can come up with.
I'm seeing a copy of Crimson Gaia, which is slightly unfortunate into the detonator specifically because it's a continuous spell that activates the effect when it's activated, and that kind of gets eaten for breakfast by detonator.
And yet another read from our player when this Bone Archiving comes down.
Probably needs to be a read from us as well.
I mean, we talked about School Servant. There comes another Bone card. Here it comes.
Yeah, I can't send Skull 7 though, unfortunately, because it's a zombie.
Yep.
Not a fiend.
I think here is also not like easy for Austin to use his interruptions, right? Because I think it's thinking about it, right? But if you have like an Impermanence or an Ash Blossom, do you use it right away, or you just,
Or you just have the detonator, you can just destroy the Bone Archfiend. Seems like a reasonable thing to do. The only thing you have to think about really with holding your detonator is whether you're worried about triple tactics talent. Sometimes you want to, like, even if you can't play around it entirely, it's nice to hold off from making it live for your opponent for as long as possible to sometimes force them into doing something a bit more awkward.
Okay, we are actually going to use the Impermanence, stopping this Fiend Tuner from being sent to the graveyard.
And that's that.
Ooh, that's that. Wow.
Very quick turn.
Yeah, might have another quick one, but at the same time, Austin, yeah, we had the tracked and we top decked. No, we don't know yet. Okay.
But what do you need when you have tracked? You have
not much.
You have everything, even though the engraver is now hidden under the detonator. It shouldn't be too much of an issue if you can resolve this track.
And I see an Ash Blossom, which for now I think is keeping for the Requiem.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's what he did in the last game. Nice to just cut your opponent off from summoning any monsters.
And yeah, you can see Ryan thinking about it now. And over the Ash Blossom. Yeah, we might have a little bit of a back and forth one here. The good thing is that even if he attacks over the Bone Archifiend, you can just bring it back next turn. So, yeah.
Do you think there's time to chain the detonator, perhaps, to put just to get your engraver in the grave? Engraver.
Definitely reset.
Yeah. Engrave.
Engraver
There
in
you
the
go.
grave. Yeah, there he goes. Good spot from Austin.
And from Tom as well.
Oh, here comes
Ooh,
the
there's
big
a
one.
Wow.
The biggest, baddest
Punished.
Vistiel. Yeah.
Punished.
This is a card we're seeing. I mean, I think Ryan's running like a bigger... Oh my goodness,
Oh,
everything's
no.
happening right now. Got to activate that now. Wow.
Do we though?
Well, I mean, if you want to activate it this turn, you have to activate
Yeah,
it
yeah,
before
yeah,
your
obviously,
magnets the
bro.
field. But yeah,
Kinda, because you can use the Magnamut and they are gonna detonate it often, but I guess, yeah, in this case, not quite. I don't know.
I see what you mean, though. It feels
Yeah.
unlikely that it was going to get anything out of it.
Yeah. Especially since his opponent passed the turn before, I guess there was the draw, but yeah, I don't know. Not that it's gonna change all that much, and unfortunately, we're not gonna search anything. And I think the last card in hand, was it a field spell?
It's the Crimson Gaia, I think. Which
Yeah.
Could
right.
be. Yeah.
The more I think, I'm just finding it hard to see how the Centurion deck can do anything against the Detonator, because all of their cards are sort of continuous in the spell and trap card zone and then activate to summon themselves. They're just going to get destroyed before they can resolve.
Totally agree with you, and yeah, you can see Austin just reading the Bone Archfiend again, because it can be brought back just by sending a card from the end to the graveyard. That's why I was thinking it was better to keep the Mulcharmy just as an additional, resource.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I guess at worst case, you can always use it as a synchro material.
Yeah.
It's level 4, right?
And yeah, again, Austin is gonna read it, is he really willing to do anything? He does. Really afraid of what this Bone Archiving can do.
Not that much for Ryan to do, but Austin is out of cards too, so not going to be doing too much next turn other than just attacking.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to see a repeat.
Because you can just bring back the Bone again. So
Yeah, oftentimes cards like this, they end up getting banished when they're returned. That's kind of a common line of
Yeah.
text on these kind of effects, but I don't think Bone Archfiend has it.
nope.
It's not the case. So
Yeah, it's just gonna push 1200 and oh, there he goes. Talk about
Okay.
banishing it.
well, that was
Yeah.
quite a top deck from Austin.
Indeed, crazy draw. Finally puts a stop to this Bone Archfiend, and yeah, this already was looking quite dominating from Austin, and confirms it even more. Needs a miracle right now off the top, or we might be adding into game 3. Regardless, this match has already taken quite a bit longer than round 1.
Here comes the Resonator again. Austin having a lot of fun learning a new deck.
And here that we were like looking at Ryan's list, he may send another one from deck, which would allow him eventually to then special summon and eventually have a synchro on the field. So Austin is just considering his options whether to interrupt him. Yeah, but I think it makes sense to go for the Detonator on the Soul Resonator here. Yeah.
So he's just going to have to like power through all the charges of the Detonator before using Crimson Gaia, but I think at that point might not have too much to do anyway, especially trying to force through the Vistiel in the hand for Austin. He
He's
thought
back.
he was done.
It's
Yeah.
back.
He's always back.
Here it is.
There it comes.
I think it's just kind of safe to chain the effect and destroy the Crimson Gaia, right? 'Cause
Yep.
I don't think the Bone Archfiend, it requires you to send a card, so there's not much you can do with a Bone
Exactly.
Archfiend by
Yeah,
itself.
and Austin spots it and claims game 2, which means the score is tied 1-1, and we're gonna head into game 3. But now the pressure is on Austin, because Ryan is gonna get another shot at going first, and yeah, just trying to set up as he did, and he does have some help from the side decks. Most importantly, a quite old card in the form of Solemn Strike. All 3 copies of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a powerful card, and it's one that we're seeing a lot of players put in their side deck specifically for going first, because I guess if your opponent's going to stop you, then you just kind of know it's very flexible. It's going to be useful against basically every deck. You can just put it in and then give that extra little boost for going first, like regardless of your opponent's game plan. If they let you establish your own field, fine. You've still got the strike to back it up if they try and use Dark Blue no more. Or if they try and stop you, fine. You just set your Solemn Strike and see if you can interrupt them.
Yeah, I really like the card, and especially because it's as you said, it's flexible, and some players rely on the strike, some players rely on the judgment. So I think it's like, it depends on what you really feel like, but for sure the pressure is on Austin, because like also into this game too, he really had to navigate through Ryan's deck and read some cards and be sure what was doing, and I think it's not easy, especially because you know, like Ryan deck can be explosive, and there are some very cool interactions that we also saw in game 1, and hopefully we will see in this game 3. But yeah, I feel like Ryan is well prepared for this type of matchup, and it depends on whether he can draw like some Centurion as he did in game 1, because like, you know, chances are that you know, being a one-offs, it's more difficult for sure. But
yeah, I mean, it seems like there are a lot of different layers to his deck. At least you have to deal with the Centurion and Resonator, more focusing obviously on the monsters, but then you have a lot of entraps, and if with the side deck we add this additional layer of trap cards in the form of Solemn Strike, or also that Fiendish from the main deck, the Golem, I think it gets quite difficult to deal with every single type of card. So we'll see. It's gonna be mostly on him to establish his field, navigate through what interruption Austin is gonna throw at him. But regardless, it's going to be one of these 2 duelists advancing with an undefeated record here at YCS Birmingham. So let's find out who will be the winner of Game 3.
One thing I think might be a little scary for Austin is he resolved a Fulos, you know, on his first turn, or on Ryan's first turn. And normally I feel like players, when you resolve Fulos, going second, you think, boy, I'm in a great spot. But it just didn't seem to phase Ryan at all. Just did his pretty standard Centurion combo and was able to win the game. So, I mean, to me, that's a little scary when your opponent just like blasts through one of the most powerful defensive options like that.
Indeed.
it is, yeah. And we will soon find out whether this will be the case in game 3. So let's take a look at those hands.
Oh, I'm
I
seeing.
see the guy, yeah. And I see the back at it again, boy. The one and only.
What is this?
And another cool addition in Ryan's deck in the form of Earthbound Prisoner Stone Sweeper, which is something that we don't really see every day, but it's here.
It's yet another one of those targets, as it is a Fiend Tuner that you can also send.
Yeah, it's the Stone Sweeper.
Yeah. You can basically discard it and add one level 3 or lower Fiend Tuner from your deck to your hand, which is cool, but basically you're locked into either Fusion or Synchro Monster, which doesn't really matter, just because basically your extra deck is made up by Synchros. So
has he got any non-synchros in his extra deck?
there's only one SP Little Knight.
One SP.
Yeah.
Oh, I love. He's playing Trishula. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Oh yes.
We see the Ash Blossom though used on the Resonator, and there it comes.
Ash Blossom got nothing on Bone Archfiend.
The Nightmare of Game 2 is back, and we see once again that Fulos. Definitely more annoying than it was in Game 1 here.
Yeah, no Centurions to make a little push and then pass. This time, you're going to have to start Synchro Summoning.
Yeah, at least we can increase the level and then send a Fiend Tuner from deck. Finally gets to resolve. Has been trying to use that effect for like 3 times now.
You could also decrease the level,
Yeah.
I think. So
Yeah.
maybe, because there is a powerful level 6 synchro. But I don't know what the plan is. Maybe he'll go straight for a level 8. And I would be very excited if we actually just got a classic Red Dragon Archfiend on the field. Is there a synchro you make with the Red Dragon Archfiend and that level 2 that I think is going to come back?
Well, the Red Dragon Archfiend, we haven't seen that card in a while, to be fair.
Oh, but it's there. It's in the extra deck.
He's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here comes the Golem yet again. I mean, if he goes for it, he gets the additional bonus, so he can get the Fiendish Chain, as you mentioned, but not quite the case. Ooh, is that really gonna be it? Just not giving any draws. Yes, wow. Bold start from Ryan. Very different from game 1, not wanting to give any draw to Austin.
It's got that Fiendish Golem as an interruption, but it has to target something with 2,000
Yeah.
or more attack, which...
You can play around.
Yeah, I feel like there's quite a lot of cards that are, you know, your starting cards are, none of them are over 2,000. All your main deck Ryzeals and Fiendsmith monsters are going to be absolutely fine with that.
And we see that bonfire being activated, which is really, really good way to start things off. Could we see another Drollen Lock, maybe?
Yeah, I think as we saw earlier, Ryan did have a copy of Crimson Gaia in his hand, so only one other card to try and stop Austin from doing what he's going to do.
What an opener.
Austin, he learned his lesson
Yeah.
from starting with the Engraver last time. This time you start with the Bonfire, just in case you get drawn lockbirded.
Here I really feel like if Ryan doesn't have like a copy of Nibiru, for example, or like an Ash Blossom to stop the Requiem, he may be in trouble, because I think it was a brave move, of course, to pass to his opponent after the Full Loss was activated, but what else could have done?
Yeah, I guess we don't know how many synchro summons he'd need to do in order to get to like a nice little interruption, so maybe he didn't want to do 2 or 3 for the sake of 1 interruption. Austin here seems to have free reign to do pretty much whatever he wants. We've seen a serious lack of Resonator combos. I'm sad.
Oh, there he goes. Ash Blossom at least to, you know, try and slow Austin a bit, but it's gonna be a tough ask.
The Austin there putting the Requiem into play, which can be a little annoying for the Ryzeal cards, or X in particular wants you not to have any non-level 4s or rank 4s in play if you want to search with it. Oh, you could banish the. It's now got more than 2,000 attack. Not sure it achieves very much, but maybe save it for a Ryzeal XYZ monster. Which cleans away all of the materials, so it should be quite useful.
Does the Bone have a secret effect? No, right?
Not really. You could just bring it back next turn and try to send another Fiend Tuner, but that's about it. And yeah, here comes Ice. I mean, Fiendish Golem, worst case scenario, is a good way to deal with the detonator, but we need a way to play the game.
Yeah, I think Ryan had the Crimson Gaia left in his hand, but you're right, it's going to be tricky. I think kind of whatever Austin picks from his extra deck at this point will probably force out the Golem. Unless it's some supreme bluff from Ryan and it's not actually the golem.
Ooh, but we spice things up and go for Chaos Angel instead.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. So at least you can force out the Fiendish from Ryan's side, and now here you can also extend your Ryzel combo. I think it makes sense, right?
Yeah, nice to get it out of the way without having to go through a duo drive or anything like that.
Should be banished too, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Got to remember to resolve the Chaos Angel. Very clean play from Austin. Nice as well because you get rid of any level 6s.
Yeah. I guess the only plus is probably resets, right? Once he comes back, I don't think he keeps the additional benefits of light and dark.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
Pretty
as
sure.
Well.
So it's just gonna be a big boy.
Are there any more tricks up the sleeve for Ryan? Do we think duo drive is going to resolve?
I mean, it is. So
often duo drive resolving just kind of spells doom for the opponent. Getting 2 searches is unbelievably powerful. Big pile of Ryzels it looked like in hand for Austin.
yeah, so not super impactful at the moment, but still, you know, so much card advantage. And you know, Ryan's deck is not really one that can you know, amass enough damage even if he were to, you know, stay in this game.
Yeah, often players side out the cross when going second, but I guess Austin decided he didn't need it to side out.
Yeah, also because like I think in this kind of matchup it may make sense just to leave it in just in case, and it may help him out.
I think you side it out normally because you want to focus on your non-engine to stop the opponent. But if you don't know too much about what your opponent's deck is trying to do, then it does kind of make sense to just keep in your own engine and focus on that. Because you know, hopefully you know what your own cards do. If you don't know what your opponents do.
But I think at this point, if you're Austin, I think you feel very confident because Ryan's being left with 1 card in hand and the poor Resonator on the field. It's I think it's looking promising.
Here comes the sword. Did he send Duella for an X?
I can't really.
I couldn't quite catch
tell.
it. Yeah. But Duella would be a useful card to have, I feel like, against these Resonators. But it's hard to argue with just having a Detonator on field instead, in case of any Centurions coming off the top of the deck for Ryan.
Are you a fan of using same sleeves for extra deck too? Just like in this case? Or?
No, I find it feels very dangerous to me that I'm going to accidentally have an extra deck monster. It does make side decking between the with the extra deck easier.
Yeah.
But I would be worried that I might accidentally leave a card from my extra deck in my main deck or vice versa.
Especially because Austin is not siding in any extra deck monsters. So.
But yeah, this was pretty well execution by Austin, who gets to push quite some damage.
Yeah, it seems very difficult to imagine what 1 card Ryan can draw to get back into this game with the sort of combined threats of the Detonator and the Rise Your Cross field spell, being able to negate a monster and start destroying cards.
This could be the last draw of the duel for Ryan. Yeah, and the Chaos Angel comes back afterwards, I think, because...
Is it the end phase or the standby phase?
I think it's the end of the next turn, so it's probably during the end phase of Ryan.
Got 1 more turn while, you know, Austin is unprotected by his Chaos Angel.
Oh, that was a good draw, but I mean, against this Detonator, it's... yeah.
It seems so hard to get through for the Centurion deck. Just put your spell and trap cards, put your monsters in the spell and trap card zone and watch them get blown up or detonated.
Yeah.
It doesn't protect it from being destroyed or anything like that, right? It's just the field spell that has protection.
indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is,
Yeah.
with the oath, I was thinking Typhon, but like you locked with the oath, and yeah, as you can see, unfortunately, Ryan extend the handshake, and Austin managed that comeback, winning 2-1 after losing the first game. Kept his composure, understood, as you, Tom, mentioned, he just needed to focus on his own gameplay and, you know, try and hope that the cards he didn't know were not enough. And yeah, that worked out smoothly. And yeah, he's going to advance with a 2-0 record.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned the Fuvalos not being so impactful in game 1, but in game 3, it feels like we would have seen an awful lot more action from Ryan if not for that Fuvalos.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ryan was quite obliged to just pass turn and hope maybe that Ash Blossom would have, you know, helped him out, but that was not the case. I feel like Ryan's deck is cool because he's playing a lot of additions that we haven't seen at all, I would say. And I also feel like in game 1, maybe, you know, if you're Austin and you travel all the way from the US and you play against Centurion, you're like, oh wait, maybe I'm in trouble. You know? And especially because in game 1, Ryan really showed us how the deck can perform. And yeah, I mean, I think game 2 was just too much from Austin's side with the Detonator just, you know, being there and doing his job. And yeah, game 3, as you mentioned, I think the Fuvalos itself just sealed the deal. Yeah.
I mean, it is a very successful deck for a reason, the Rise of Finsmith. And I mean, we'll see whether it's going to be able to take yet another event under his belt, or whether maybe Malice, as we have seen in Basti, you know, meta breakdown segment, it is technically the most represented deck with nearly 20%.
Yeah, it's interesting because it brings up that question as to like how you choose to categorize the decks. And you know, obviously Rhizio decks are to some extent similar, but if you're a player, you really want to think about it because, you know, yes, these cards all have Rhizios, but do you want to use the same strategy versus each of them? What cards are effective versus each of them? So, for example, if you side a card like Dimensional Barrier against Pure Rhizio, that sounds fantastic. But then if you do it against Fiendsmith and you have your Dimensional Barrier and they're just summoning all their Fiendsmith monsters instead, it may not be as effective.
Yeah, also I think the choice of playing Ultimate Slayer in the side deck, I think it's a very solid choice for this event, because as you said also, Tom, I think Metaltron is also very popular. So alongside also the playing Ultimate Slayer, I think it's a very good combination of cards just to you know, prevent your opponent from activating the Detonator. So it's it really depends on how our players feel like, because I think there are a lot of different options like the Meow, which I think, you know, we will see also, and I think Lancia is a must, to be fair, like in our player side deck. And we also saw some players like Ryan also side decking an extra deck card like the Aggregator, just because the extra deck is super tight. So I'm really curious to see how this will shape throughout the rounds, and also tomorrow before the top cut. So is, you know, at the top tables our players are doing, and in the end it's just, I think, a matter of, you know, these small choices which in the end, you know, are quite big ones. So yeah, let's see how this go. And yeah, I mean, this is pretty much for our round 2, but here, let's hear it from our analyst, Mike, who is ready for the post-match analysis discussion.
Hello everyone. It was a very interactive game between Rhizio Fiendsmith against Centurion. It was actually interesting, the interaction between Detonator and the Centurion cards, because Detonator really counters them. However, we have prepared some clips that I would like to discuss. The first one is the impact of Fugalos. Of course, it's a very good and strong card. However, as we saw, Ryan played very well under it, meaning that he synchro summoned Legatia, he traded one draw for his own draw, and also he managed to destroy a card. Meaning that Centurion was a very good meta call, since he can play very well under cards like Fugalos and of course Corulia. And I want to mention that it's very interesting and very important to pick the correct deck for a YCS like Birmingham in order to counter such strong cards. The second clip I would like also to discuss is the impact of another very strong hand ramp, Droll and Lockbird. as we mentioned, Droll is a very strong card and a very good meta call since it can counter a lot of meta decks right now. Here, Austin managed to play around it with the exit strategy. He had both Ice, Bonfire, that he searched Ice, and also he had Engraver. He managed to activate first Bonfire in order to play around Droll, since he already saw it in game 1. And now, as you can see, he got the tract and he gets the Droll. Here, he gets the info of Droll, and in the next game, he managed to play around it by activating first the Bonfire, managed to get the Ice, get Droll, and then pass on a Donator. So this is exactly what I mean, that it takes a good practice to be prepared for a YCS. And the last clip is the access to Chaos Angel. Brazil Fiendsmith is a very good deck in order to play around many interruptions. Since it doesn't lock into Xyz, he can Secret Summon very easily into Chaos Angel, a very impactful card that, going second, it can really help the player. So, to sum it up, I want to say that, of course, there are very strong hand traps in the game right now, but the correct practice, and of course, be prepared for a YCS, you can actually play very good and pick a very strong deck for those scenarios.